Are you looking for better health but feel a little overwhelmed with it all, thinking there might be something missing? Maybe you're looking for action steps to take that get to the real root of the issue and actually move the needle in your health. Here on the Cornerstone Integrative Healing Podcast, we will share the link between our physical, emotional, and spiritual health, all while pointing you to the one and only true healer, Jesus. I'm Carrie Cootie, your co-host. As a pharmacist turned integrative health practitioner, I spent 20 years in the traditional healthcare world, and it was definitely long enough to know there's a huge need for preventative healthcare and holistic healing. I'm excited to have conversations around these topics with my co-host and friend, Jen.
Hey, I'm Jen Patriarca. God gave me this desire to help others with natural healing a long time ago. With more than 20 years of experience in the functional nutrition field, God decided it was time to join forces. Carrie and I are colleagues turned faithful partners in this mission God has put on our hearts. A mission for true healing, one that encompasses an integrative approach. With Jesus taking the lead, our aim is to point you toward Him as we help you peel back the layers. Through conversations, you can expect straightforward information on holistic health topics that include physical, emotional, and spiritual action steps that will create real change in your health, and honest conversations around the ups and downs that can come with healing. It's time to have joy in your life again and the energy to do all that God has called you to. Be sure to subscribe for new episodes every Monday. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Carrie, and we are wrapping up our series on creating a strong health foundation. So today we are on the last episode, episode 3 of physical health. And we're going to talk about some of the daily choices. So we really just wanted to use this episode to sort of wrap up everything that we talked about in the last 8 episodes. So if you're following on this episode and you haven't listened to the previous episodes, we really encourage you to go back and dig in deep with some of those things. As today, I feel like we'll really give you more of an overview about just creating those really strong daily health foundations that I think we're talking about it in the physical health, but I think it affects emotional, spiritual, and physical health. I think it's really important to really get into those daily rhythms because, as we've talked about, having a schedule for your body, for your mind, and really committing to things that are, therapeutic in the sense of, you look forward to them, you enjoy them, it's good for your body, for your mind, for your soul. I think those all play a role in our daily choices. And sometimes those daily choices are harder because we might not feel like doing them, right, or we might not be in the mood. But I think it's during those times where if we can just cling to that foundation of really good emotional tools, physical tools, spiritual tools, that we create a really, really strong foundation.
Yeah, it's got me thinking, everybody wants better physical health. Everybody wants to be emotionally, healthy, and like they want to have this awesome relationship with the Lord. But it comes down to, what are you doing daily? Like, it truly does. I think that, sure, there are like bigger choices that we make that are impactful, but yet it does go back to, well, if we say we want those things, then what are we doing on a daily basis to actually make those happen? And like Jen said, it ain't fun sometimes. It's not what we want to be doing sometimes. We'd rather do all these other things, but then it goes back to, well, what is the overarching choice that we've made? Are we prioritizing our health in these 3 ways? If we are, then that's going to show up in our daily choices. I think there's like I don't know, I can't remember it now. I feel like it's like a quote or a saying, like, to really look to see what people are doing daily, to look to see how, successful they'll be at their goals or something like that. Because it does all go back to, what are you doing day in and day out?
Right. And I feel like these are goals to work toward, right? We've given you lots of techniques and tools and suggestions over the last probably 8 episodes. But I think this is really maybe picking 1 or 2 for each, for spiritual health, emotional health, for physical health, and really sticking to them, and use ones that resonate with you, right? That feel good for you, for your body. And Carrie, you mentioned in the last episode, we didn't really have time to dig deeper, but the three anchors for morning, for midday, and for evening,
Yeah.
and using those sort of as a foundation for the daily choices.
Yeah. So three anchors just really means like, what are you doing in the morning, midday, and evening? And I think, it kind of goes back to this idea of just having a lot of us have rhythms, but are they serving us, I guess would be a good way to maybe think
That's a
about it.
good thought.
Yeah. And so we all get up and a lot of times we do the same things, whether it's like we brush our teeth, we go to the restroom, we fix a glass of water. I mean, I don't know. There's like so many things that we do. But I think it's just looking at it as how can we really help our create a strong foundation in our health, physical, emotional, spiritual, with these three anchors. And so having a morning and evening routine, like I said, are something that you're probably more familiar with. But going back to, does your morning routine really set you up to have a day that is not that has margin, that's not stressed, that's coming from a place of being grounded in the Lord's word, or are you constantly reacting to things? I think that a morning routine can really help you to stay grounded. And then midday, though, I would say is where a lot of people don't necessarily maybe have a routine, because every day might look different. However, just this idea of having anchors throughout the day to physically break up the stress cycle. We did talk about that more, and what that looks like in the last episode. But and just thinking about having anchor midday, it would really just be taking time out off of work to go outside for a walk, or even if you just have a lunch break. Let's say, like, I used to work 9 to 5 at a pharmacy, and so I had an hour lunch break each day. And so for me, that meant going for a walk and eating, and maybe sometimes it meant being with other people, and a lot of times it didn't, just because I needed that time by myself. And so it kind of just depends on what your day looks like, but just taking time away from your normal day to really just decompress. I think
Yeah.
that whether that's an hour lunch break, or maybe that's just a couple minutes, I think it really makes a difference. And so that's just kind of what midday anchor looks like. And then evening, winding down to really just help with proper sleep, and winding down physically, but also winding down mentally. So trying to not be on your phone. Maybe you journal at night. I've really enjoyed that. I've been doing a challenge, and it's kind of that was part of the challenge, is to journal. And I actually had to set a timer to remind me to journal for the first week. And now I remember it and I look forward to it. So that might be a really good way, that if some of these things are new things that you want to incorporate, you might have to remind yourself. Like sometimes I have lots of alarms on my phone and then that kind of gets into, my daily routine, and I don't need that alarm anymore, but we do need
Yeah,
reminders sometimes.
we do. But I think Carrie, I think you mentioned this before, was attaching some of these rhythms that you want to
Yeah.
include to your day to old habits, or something that
Yeah.
you do already. So in the morning, you already brush your teeth. So is there, could you attach prayer time as soon as you brush your teeth, insert the prayer time after that, so that
Right.
it's anchored to a habit you already have?
For sure.
And also adding things in, I do that a lot with people and diets. Everybody's, worried that I'm going to take things away. And, really what I try to do initially is to add things. So fine,
Yeah.
you want to have a bagel for breakfast. That's great. But you have to add a hard-boiled egg, right? Or you have to add protein with it.
Yeah.
So adding instead of taking things away too, that could
I like
seem
that.
overwhelming. Maybe taking away for you would be a great thing.
Hmm.
So, but really the rhythm is really to try to base it on maybe a habit you already have in your routine.
Yeah. I think it's important, because sometimes it can really seem overwhelming. Like Jen was saying, we have given you a lot of ideas in these last 9 episodes of ways to build a strong health foundation in these 3 areas. But that's simply because we're all in different stages and chapters in our journey of all 3 of these things. So I think it really does start with being aware of where you are, and then where do you want to go, and what is going to help you to get there, and doing it one thing at a time is really important, so that you don't get overwhelmed. But I love the idea of adding it to add to mentality.
Right. And for me, that was big because I really, at first, it was overwhelming to think about everything that I wanted to get done, but also take care of myself, right?
Right.
And fitting into a time frame that was doable. But
Mhm.
I think as I've moved out of that sympathetic dominance and really just focused on what does my body need in the moment, it feels a little bit more, I don't want to say natural. What's the word? It feels a little bit more rhythmic, like organic.
Yeah.
It just comes to me,
Yeah.
right? Where I don't have to think about eating every 3 to 4 hours, right? Or I don't have to think about what I need to do in the morning. I look forward to those things because they
Mhm.
ground me, right? My prayer time, my walk.
Yeah.
So it's it's really not so much finding the time. Is it kind of just finding the flow. I know
Yeah.
that sounds kind of crazy, but there is a flow. A lot of people I think are white knuckling as I was.
Yeah.
And so it's to think about that there actually could be a flow,
That wouldn't feel hard.
right? That wouldn't feel hard. And that's what we're trying to get you
Mhm.
to is to these daily choices. So it doesn't feel hard and it feels like you're more in the flow because if you're focusing on a lot of these things, I think our bodies, our minds, our spirits, our souls self-correct. And
Yeah.
so it's innately healing to choose these things and to be in these rhythms day
Yeah.
after day after day and using the anchors, right? We're giving you some things in the morning. I know, my anchor is definitely prayer and my morning walk to get my first morning light. So I'm getting my walk, I'm out in nature, I'm getting my first morning light and my prayer. Those right now almost are non-negotiable, right? Like I'll get up 15 minutes earlier if I have to, if my morning starts a little bit earlier so I can make sure I
Right.
can fit that time in.
And I was thinking like you kind of don't know what a difference it makes. Like we can tell you, but you don't realize it until you actually do it. And sometimes just doing it is starting is the hardest because you don't know what the outcome is going to be. You heard somebody talk about all the great benefits, but you haven't personally experienced it. And so sometimes that is the hardest. But I think you make a choice prior to like I'm committing to this. And then after you've committed to it, then you see that it actually does work. And then it's like, oh, okay, I'm definitely not doing this. And
Right.
it's just
Right.
like not a decision you have to make anymore.
Right.
I think
Right.
that's what we're trying to get you to, right? And some of these, so you kind of maybe you just do need to take our opinion on it, right? And just commit to doing it. And then you'll see for yourself. And then it won't be something you have to set an alarm for or make yourself do. You just want to do it.
What are your non-negotiables in the morning, Carrie?
Well, I get up and I tongue scrape and I brush my teeth first. Then obviously maybe use the restroom. Then I sit down and go through my devotional and quiet time before my kids wake up. And then I get them out the door and then I usually go for a walk. Obviously, and eat breakfast too. That's definitely non-negotiable. Yeah,
And then
that's it.
midday, is there something that you like to do midday? I know for me, it's literally just sitting on my front stairs if I'm at home and getting in some sunlight and
Okay.
listening to the birds, as simple as that sounds.
Yeah. No, that's great. I really try to be outside as much as possible. Whenever I can. It's probably going to get too hot here soon to be outside midday if you don't want to just melt. But as far as I just try to find some way to get out, like not work, right? I'll eat lunch and then I'll try to go outside for a short walk, or I'll maybe even lay down on the couch and just try to just be
Decompress. Right.
decompress for probably 10 to 20 minutes is a good time frame. You kind of get in the zone of decompression around like 7 to 8 minutes. So I would say 15 to 20 is what I typically do. And I try to either do that around lunch or right before I pick up my kids because I don't want to be stressed when I pick up my kids. And it's not like maybe I'm stressed, like I don't know, worked up about something about work. I'm just my nervous system is worked up. and
Right.
so if it's worked up and then I go pick them up and they're not having a good day, well, I'm not going to have very much patience is what I'm saying. And I need bandwidth for my kids. And so I have learned I cannot pack my day. I cannot not do these things because I want to show up for them because they deserve that. I want to be mom whenever I pick them up, a mom that is not stressed, right? And does have time for whatever they need. So that to me has become very important because I used to pack my day and then I would pick them up, not taking a break, and then I would like have no patience. And that's not okay.
Right. Right.
So
Right. And so using these simple anchors, morning, midday, evening, I think what we're trying to hopefully convey, at least for us, and what we've even seen in people that we see in our clients, is that it really does create this foundation that we need for physical, emotional, and spiritual health.
mhm.
And we've talked a lot about them already in the morning, obviously prayer, meditation, first morning light, daily, daily, the walks that both of us take and suggest. Those are really good just anchors for the morning. Midday, we talked about, again, the light is super important. So getting that midday light. It's also the only time to get your free vitamin. It's your one and only
Yeah.
free vitamin. So get out there 15, 20 minutes just on your, hands,
Mhm.
arms, and faces, enough to get your vitamin D you need for the day. So just getting outside, or listening, I'll listen to a worship song outside, or again, just giving my mind a break, as we talked about, that midday. I almost think sometimes for a lot of people, that midday break might be the hardest, but might be the most important.
I agree. I completely agree.
Because, yes, because we're breaking that stress cycle. So
Yeah.
I would encourage you, if you, I mean, I think they're all important, but I think that midday for a
Mhm.
lot of people, because we don't know we're in that sympathetic dominance, if you can do getting outside, if you can do the heart math, which intentionally breaks that stress response, I think could be maybe life-giving as far as getting you to feel the difference between that stress, fight or flight, and that parasympathetic, that rest and digest
Yeah.
difference.
Now, on the heart math, we're going to give them a video about how to do that. So if you're
Yes.
like, I don't know what this is, look in the show notes or in the description of this video, depending on where you're watching or listening.
Yeah. It's a really simple technique with really good science to really break that stress response and to really sync your mind and your heart,
Mhm.
um, and uh, to really flip that switch almost. It really can be that profound. I use it often and I really do see a difference,
Yeah.
as far as, just interrupting stress. And then nightly, we talked a little bit about the nightly routines, but do you want
Yeah.
to talk about some of yours?
Yeah, sure. My kids, unfortunately, are just like going to bed later. They're just older, and it's light outside now when we're recording this podcast. So they don't get to sleep till about 9, unfortunately. I would rather it be earlier, but anyway, and I'm ready. I want to go to sleep by 10, if not before. So my nighttime routine is kind of short, shorter than I would like it to be. But I do try to read a book or journal before bed. And then I always maybe, obviously conversate with my husband a little bit because we haven't had a chance to do that much throughout the day and evening. And I also I've been doing this for 11 years, I believe. I use oils every night before I go to sleep. I use them on my feet and then in a diffuser. And then sometimes I'll take them even by mouth. They help so much with sleep. So that's kind of my nightly routine. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like we didn't mention this, but I feel like social interaction and connection, I feel like this is the time where I really am more focused and intentional about spending time with,
Yeah.
my kids and my husband,
Hmm.
and just asking about their days and seeing what's coming ahead, or even just sharing, what might not happen that day, or what you're
Yeah,
worried about that's going to happen the
that's
next
true.
day.
Yeah.
And gratitude. I feel like for me, since I've been sort of practicing gratitude, I don't journal necessarily every day. And if I do journal, it's usually in the morning, but am really intentional about, when I lay down, about picking one or two things that I'm just super grateful for that happened that day, the people I have in my life, something I learned. Um, Really, I mean, it's anything. And I feel like since I've been doing that gratitude, I feel like my mind doesn't race as much as it used to. Actually, my mind doesn't race like it used to at all, but I just feel like that gratitude puts me in a different state of mind for
Yeah.
sleep. And sometimes I'll do something called examination of conscience, which is basically just going through my day,
Hmm.
intentionally interactions that I've had with people, actions I've done, and repenting for things where I might have messed up. And just giving those to God and asking God's mercy has really helped me to just have a really, calm and peaceful sense, before I go to sleep.
Yeah. I love that. So hopefully that just gives you some ideas and just encourages you to look and see what you do in those 3 times during the day and just find one thing to add in, one thing at a time. Now, before we kind of wrap up this is daily choices and is in the physical health kind of pillar. So I'm curious, and I'll share mine too. Uh, if you could think of like 2 to 3 things that you've added in your daily rhythm physically that have made a big difference, what would they be?
100% the relight. Yes, we all know
Yeah.
the relight has made night and day difference as far as just anxiety and focus and energy, and magnesium is the other one,
Yeah.
as far as nutrients. So just helping with sleep, helping my nervous system just be more calm at night. I notice that when I take the magnesium, I have a more restful sleep.
Yeah.
So if you're tossing and turning and you can't get that restful sleep. And the other thing that physically has really made a difference in my energy and my mood is eating frequency.
Yeah.
So eating within an hour of getting up and then eating every 3 to 4 hours, the protein, fat, and complex carbs. Those by far have made, I know they sound simple, but have made leaps and bounds for
Yeah.
me. What about you?
For sure. Yeah, very similar. I would say mineral rich drinks in general. I mean, yes, relight, but also do adrenal cocktails. And sometimes I'll do herbal teas. There's so many different ways that you can get minerals in a drink
We're going to
form.
talk about those. You're going to talk about
Yes,
those with Hannah
exactly.
coming up, right? In
Yeah.
our
So
summer
I have a
series.
podcast, right, coming up on that. And so if you're interested in that, stay tuned. It'll be part of our summer series. So that's one thing that's made a big difference for me and just getting enough minerals in because we do burn through those so quickly. And then I would say getting enough protein in. Like, I mean, that I've
Good
probably been
point.
focusing on that, I don't know, a year maybe or more. I mean, I know it's like super trendy to be like high protein, but I mean, you obviously you need those complex carbs and fat too. And I think we can go overboard on protein. So I think, it's like protein that's, and then I think that goes with paying attention to your body, how your digestion is, all of that stuff. But that really has made a big difference with my digestion and with my energy. So those would be my two.
Love it. I love
Yeah.
it. So if you're listening and you're really wanting to make just some simple changes in your everyday life, look at it from the aspect of your 3 anchors for the morning. Pick one, your midday, and your evening routine. As we said, we talked a lot more about a lot of these throughout the past 8 episodes. So
Mhm.
I would highly encourage you to go back and to listen to some of those. But just to close, Carrie, you have this verse from Matthew. Do you want
Yeah.
to read
Yeah.
it?
I love that. Yeah. It's from Matthew 11:28 to 30. It says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." And it just stuck out to me. The first 3 words in the verse is "come to me," and we can't we can't have those things until we come to Him. He's the source of all of that rest and regeneration, and just we are weary and we are burdened by so many different things. Um, and so when we come to Him, He does give us rest, and He regenerates us, and He changes us into what He wants us to be. And oftentimes I was just been thinking about how He gives us what we need versus what we want. And sometimes that doesn't feel very good in the moment. And so, but it's always for our good. And that is a choice that we make every day to come to Him. Obviously, we make a choice that He is our Savior, but then we still have to follow Him and come to Him every day and walk in the Spirit and not in the flesh. And so, just talking about the ultimate daily choice, that would be it. So, and that affects the physical and everything else too, for sure. So,
Absolutely.
we hope you've enjoyed this. Just looking at these things from a biblical perspective is what we always try to do, and just to give you ways to walk with Him and to just really live your life differently. And of course, that affects so many things, and it has a true ripple effect. So, I hope you've enjoyed this series. We've enjoyed recording it. And it's
Absolutely.
kind of a longer one, but I think it's been great. We've loved it. So hopefully you have. Give us your thoughts. If you have questions or thoughts or prayer requests, we are always here for any of those. And so we have our information in the show notes and in the description of the video. And come follow us on Instagram. We're sharing some great things over there. Come get connected with us over there. And we will see you next on our new summer series that will be starting in the next episode. See you guys.